Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and I'm quite excited to be doing a walkthrough today of the Dreams of Gaia Tarot by Raven Felon, or Felon. I'm sure I'm, as always, slaughtering somebody's name. But this came in the mail early this morning, and I had spent some time with it in bed because I know it's a different structure, and I really wanted to get a grip on that before. So this isn't a straight up first impressions. Also, I was concerned there were some of the early boxes where corners were kind of messed up, and gilding, which I've had happen with other gilded decks, where when you peel it apart, you kind of rip the face of the card. And so I wanted to kind of sort through all that beforehand. Mine did not do that, thankfully. So I have spent a little bit of time with this morning, but I haven't done my card by card, which we're going to do together. So I'm really excited about this because I was on the fence about this particular deck, not really for any real reason. I have Raven Felon's Messenger Oracle, which I love. Miss Boho had sent this to, Boho Gypsy had sent this to me quite a while ago, I think with a box of decks, maybe that she was clearing out. And I love this deck. It reads really fantastic. It's actually quite balanced in masculine and feminine energy. Love the bear on this one. I really love this deck. And so because I really love this deck, when I saw a while ago that she was making a tarot deck, I was, of course, quite intrigued by it. But I will say that there has been some mixed reviews, or I've seen some mixed reviews on this deck. Some of it, I think, is more to do with some printing complications, which is, of course, frustrating when you really wait for a deck to come in. But when you have Blue Angel decks, I think there is an expectation of quality and an expectation of cardstock that I think was not really, people didn't maybe think that through all the way, that we're not going to have the same card stock as a, let's say, 40 card deck. If that same card stock was in an 81 card deck, you're going to have a massively thick deck that is very difficult to work with. So I personally am glad that it is thinner cardstock, but we'll get to all that in a minute. I feel like some of the mixed things that I have seen had more to do with some printing errors and things of that nature than on the actual artwork and the deck and the creation of the deck itself. There has been also some, questions on it being named Tarot instead of Oracle because the major arcana has been entirely reworked. One of the reasons, I'll be honest with you, that I went ahead and right away, not right away, I waited a little bit, but one of the reasons I did end up purchasing this deck, one, Larissa from the Bard's Lament on YouTube and on Instagram, she, had a powerful experience working with it, and so that was a big influence to finally hit the purchase button. But also, truthfully, it was mostly because I have seen Raven herself commenting, in social media. So I know that, I think maybe the first one I saw, I don't know, to be honest. Now I'm going to get it mixed up, so I'm not going to say. I've seen a couple reviews of hers on YouTube, and her responding to people's comments in a way that I thought was very respectful, very giving of her time and energy to explain things, very thought-provoking responses, and just the energy of her responses to people, I feel, said a lot about her and made me want to purchase her deck. that is the truth. That's one of the things that really influenced me. I was just impressed with the social interactions that I have seen with her. There is a humbleness at the same time as a clear standing behind her vision that is very refreshing and beautiful to watch, and it did make me want to purchase the deck. So those are kind of the things, and plus, I mean, it's just because of my experience with this deck, it makes it fairly easy because you say, wow, you know, it's easy to give it a shot, right? Because I have had such a great experience with the Messenger Oracle. So one of the things I did really like in one of the comments that I saw from her was where the question of why is this being called a tarot when it seems like it's more like an oracle. And as a general rule, I am certainly one who says that if a creator is going to massively change the structure of tarot, then they're best off to just call it an oracle. We do have traditional connotations to what a tarot deck is, and when that gets changed to a certain degree, I do feel I'm one of those people who say, okay, well, it's no longer tarot, it's now an oracle deck. So I can understand people saying that, although what I really liked with her responses is that, and twofold, which I've said this before, tarot is oracle, right? All of these systems are oracle. Oracle is a big umbrella. And so I think even tarot is an oracle deck in a sense, right? But in our understanding of oracle and tarot cards, we have tarot over here, which has a traditional structure of a major and a minor arcana. We have 22, we have a very set split between the major and the minor. The major is looking at that overarching fool's journey, or the scope, of the greater scope, and then the minor arcana is looking at the more daily and a little bit more of the microcosm rather than the macrocosm of the major arcana. Whereas oracle, as we traditionally think of oracle, is quite unstructured. It is, 44 cards, say, following a particular theme, like the Halloween oracle or the vintage wisdom that uses vintage art and photography and things. There's usually a theme in which the 44 cards are around, but there's not an internal structure to the card. Now, there are exceptions to that, such as Brian Froud's oracles, even the new Animal Spirit Oracle by the Wild Unknown, where there is elemental structure there in the oracle. There are more than those, but there are some exceptions. But for the general rule, we think of oracle as a more thematic deck with a lot less structure. Tarot, very structured, traditional things there. So one of the comment that I read by her was that she almost wishes that there was a term tarot or a tarorical or something of that nature, because that might have fit it better, but having to choose between the two, to her, tarot makes more sense because there is a strict structure. There is a major arcana looking at that overarching journey. It's looking at that journey in a different way, using different titles, although I think all of the energy is still there from the traditional tarot, but it is following that journey of a person's life, and I think is looking at the macro. And then the minor arcana is structured the same, where you have it broken down into the 4 elements. You have a court system, although court systems change a little bit, the court system is still there. So it is structured like a tarot deck, even though the major arcana has massively been changed. But that, to me, does speak more. If you have to choose one over the other, it speaks more of a tarot deck than it does an oracle deck. So I think that she did a great job explaining that. And in the end, it's a bit of semantics, right? Whether you pick this up and you use it like a tarot deck versus like an oracle deck, doesn't really matter. It's getting in and working with the cards. Do these cards speak to you and work for you? Is it a tool that you can use? Yes or no? You know, I wouldn't get hung up on name a specific word like that. So enough of that. Let's just say, of course, Blue Angel does an amazing job at boxes. And this, I think, is a perfect example of what I think all tarot decks, as well as recently did the Japardia Tarot, which is gorgeous box and guidebook as well. I feel like this is sort of the gold standard to me at how a tarot deck should come, especially if you want a larger. I mean, I love self-published ones that are more the size of the tarot deck, but obviously sometimes we want a bigger guidebook, and I feel like this is that perfect marriage between a perfect oracle box, but still being able to have a good sized tarot guidebook. To me, this is perfection. Like, this should be the gold standard. It's beautiful. The black and the gold is stunning. The sides are stunning. So that's important. That's going to be mostly what shows in your on your shelf, and so that is absolutely gorgeous. The back talks about the deck. I really like how it gets you right into the philosophy. It says the philosophy of the Dreams of Gaia Tarot is simple: to seek, to feel, to grow, to heal. This deck will strengthen your connection to your divine self whilst helping you to identify and heal past experiences that hold you back from living to your fullest potential. Learn to recognize when times of growth and change are approaching and face them with confidence and a sense of anticipation. Learn when to take action and when to be still. Learn to trust your intuition. By offering structure in the form of a major and minor arcana like that of past tarots, but combining them with bold new archetypes, symbology, and meanings are more suited to the present. That I've heard some talk about that sort of line there. I do believe that traditional tarot is very suited to the present. So the more suited, yeah, can you quibble about that? Sure, a little bit. I think that I love the idea that the conversation of tarot that didn't stop in the time period when they were making Marseille Tarot. It didn't stop when the Rider-Waite-Smith team came together and created the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. The conversation and the evolving of tarot doesn't stop. We can still continue to have that conversation and that evolving. People probably said similar things even about the Rider-Waite-Smith, and still sometimes we still say that, okay, that's not the be end all and end all of tarot. So I do think that there can be a current modern conversation in the form of a deck by tarot. I don't think it's necessarily more relevant than the past ones, but it's certainly interesting and fascinating. The Dreams of Gaia allows for a more personal, intimate, and effective system for using cards as a roadmap to navigate your life path. Embark on this extraordinary journey of undoing, of being and becoming, and be inspired by the knowledge that all that manifests in your future is born of choices you make today. So I think that this really encapsulates the essence of the deck. Again, my only thing is the word more. If we want to get picky, I think that using it as more suited to the present or more personal, intimate, and effective, I don't think that any system is going to be more effective than the traditional system. It works. It's worked for a long time for a reason. I think something more along the lines of new, a new personal, intimate, and effective system or something along that nature would have been better than the word more, because I don't necessarily think this is going to be more effective than traditional system. I'm a writer. I am, words are powerful to me, and so I do, and I've seen that. That's the only reason I'm commenting on this is because these are the things that I've seen in, the murmur, in end or reviews or just comments on social media and things of that nature. So I wanted to touch on that. So yeah, that that's a little, but to me that's a little quibble, because in the end, the box, even the guidebook. None of it really matters to me other than how am I going to work with this particular tool. That's the key for me. And so a lot of things like that, I can just say, okay, you know, that's their take on it, and that's great. But that's not going to halt me from using it just because of that. So box, beautiful, beautiful, A plus. I mean, there's nothing to say about this box other than that it is gorgeous, and that follows through, I personally think, throughout the rest. I love, it's such a little thing, but they had this little paper here kind of protecting the guidebook, which is, it's just that little extra layer of, ooh, you know, this is something really, really nice, right? It's got a gorgeous dark blue. Blue Angel always does these beautiful inner colors, and it has a gorgeous dark blue, which I think, you know, looks amazing with that sort of sky background here that's going on. It's just gorgeous. Beautifully done. I think that same quality shines through on the book. You can feel the gold embossing. The colors are absolutely stunning and gorgeous. As you think of, if you know Raven's work, and I'm not saying just her first name because I know her, because I don't. So, but I don't want to keep saying slaughtering her last name because I feel like I'm not saying it right. So I will call her Miss Raven to be polite. But when you her work is iconically that bold, gorgeous, rich color, and that certainly translates to this guidebook. The paper is that beautiful, flexible, thin, just gorgeous paper stock. Yes, I've already started to write in it. Don't have a heart attack. And has a lot of graphics in it. There's a small representation of each of the cards, even into the minor arcana, but just beautiful graphically done. It's just a beautifully manufactured guidebook. You know, this is, again, all stuff that I think that we expect from Blue Angel. Now, the deck itself comes in a nice little tuck, and it's a nice solid one. So A+, A++ over packaging. It's stunning. There really isn't anything that I would change about the packaging, the manufacturing of the guidebook. I mean, it's just gorgeous. So I'm going to set that aside so we have room for, this is the same, obviously, image on the cover of the box with this image, which is, I believe, it's one of the air ones. I want to say it's the 9 of air, which is gorgeous on the back. So the cards themselves are gilded, and they're a little bit of an extra special gilding, and I don't know that you're going to be able to see this, but there's almost like there's an extra bit of sparkle to it's very reflective gold. It's not a matte gold, but there's even a little bit of, like, it's not glitter, but it's got a almost glittery thing that just makes it a little bit of an extra wow, wow, wow kind of a foiling on the edges. Now, how will these hold up? I'm not sure, and that truthfully doesn't matter too much to me. I don't mind my gilding getting worn in at all. The corners and gilding are generally always going to, you know, go, especially like me if I'm a rifle shuffler, and so I just accept that, and truthfully it doesn't bother me at all. It just, to me, lends to the used, I'm using this deck. It's not a deck to sit and be pretty, it's a deck to be used. The backs are incredibly simple. They are simply black with this gorgeous thin gold band with sort of like little teeny leaves almost, I guess, in the corners. I think it's stunning. I really like it a lot. It's reflective. It is going to show fingerprints. I have seen other people, there's my camera. I have seen people, that have used it more, and you can definitely, the fingerprints are going to be on it. That, solves itself by wipe down. Again, I don't care too much about that when I'm showing it to clients. They're not really seeing the back, they're paying attention to this side. And the side is glossy, but I will say that there are some glosses that are very difficult to actually see when you have a light overhead. And I have to say, I was working with this on my bed with an overhead light, and it really wasn't bad to work with. I have a couple decks that are actually a little uncomfortable to read with because of the way that the glare does. These are glossy, but it's not to the degree I have found yet where it interferes with seeing the image clearly. So that's a good thing. In terms, they are thin. Of course, you know, I love thin cardstock. Let's see. It's thinner than the Jeopardia. That's US Games. This is low Scarabeo, but of course it's smaller. And so that makes a difference in the feel. It's definitely thin cardstock, but I quite like it because, as I said, if this was the same cardstock as a traditional Blue Angel Oracle deck, this would be an insanely thick deck that would be uncomfortable to be used. Oops, I might have put that notes right. So I'm fine with that. It is size-wise, let me get untrimmed. I usually use a Llewellyn. Actually, I have one right here. Here is the Shadowscape Tarot, so that's a Llewellyn. It's definitely larger. It's wider and taller. Now, Llewellyn's not a big card anyways. Excuse me. 'Tis the season for allergies, folks, in my household. Here's the Wild Unknown. A little bit taller and definitely wider. So it's large. I like that personally. It feels like a deck that should be larger. Now, say from the Margaret Peterson, which is actually what I consider Oracle size and I use all the time, it's smaller than that. So it's kind of in between an Oracle and traditional tarot size, which goes with the fact that it is a deck that's sort of in between tarot and Oracle as well, or people are saying that. Now we'll make our judgment after we go through the deck. I personally feel like, to me, it feels like a tarot deck. So far, what I've looked through it, I will be using it, treating it as an Oracle, or as a tarot deck, excuse me. So there it is in terms of cardstock. I know some people really like the cardstock. I haven't got to shuffle it yet, so I kind of reserve that judgment towards the end. And whether it's going to hold up or not, I don't know. I like thinner cardstocks. So that's going to be individual taste, but it is thin, but I think it's beautiful. So that's just me. So that's it in terms of just the production aspect of the cards, the box, and all that. Let me set these to the side for a minute, and let's take a look at the guidebook. Now, I have read through, I've watched quite a few reviews on this deck, and I have also read through, not the entire guidebook, but I've read through all of the stuff that isn't the actual card by card, and then I've read a good chunk of the card by card, because I really wanted to make sure that I was going to do the system justice, since it is not just a Rider-Waite-Smith redoing or revamping. I wanted to make sure that I could clearly come across to all of you what the differences are and that sort of thing, so that it could be helpful in that way. So I have read a good chunk of this, and I have to say I quite love this guidebook. We've got the contents where we can see, I'll come back to this because this does show some of the changes, but we have the contents, which I do love to have. Again, a lot of beautiful images from the cards showing up. The introduction is a lot what we saw on the back of the box, but the idea, the philosophy is to seek, to feel, to grow, and to heal. And so it talks about seeking to reveal the answers within, to questions within. To feel is to delve into the watery realms of emotion and to begin to understand why you feel and react as you do. To grow says you are in a constant cyclic state of growth and change, and that it's growth and change is inevitable and unavoidable. And so many of us, she talks about fear and resist that change. Also talks about that certain continual growth that we're going through, and then to healing the past experiences that are impacting us today. So I quite like that. And I also really like the wordage of this. This will get high or underlined for me. It will help you to, right down here. This life is your journey of undoing, being, and becoming. Choose your path with the knowledge that all that manifests in your present is born of choices made in the past, and all that manifests in your future is born of choices made in the present. In this way, you will create a present and future in harmony with your dreams and heart's desire. I really like that. Because I talk about this all the time with my clients, that idea that when we get a reading, it's giving us information, it's giving us future casting, what direction are things going in, but the whole key purpose is so that you can make better choices and decisions to move yourself along the path. I say it over and over and over and over and over again, so I really love the fact that that is highlighted in the guidebook, as well as that this key other card here is the choice card. And what I also really like, and I'll get into I guess more as we go, is that especially in the major arcana, you really see it's not a sugar-coated deck, which was one of the concerns that I had, was that because some of the what people would consider difficult cards in the swords or the air suit, which is my favorite suit, right? Have been changed and don't have, you don't have 10 swords in the back of a person for the 10 of swords. Even the 3 of swords does not have that sense of heartbreak in it. And so my concern was that it was sugar coating. And I actually, after reading through some of the guidebook, I don't see that as being the case whatsoever. In fact, what she's doing is what important to me is that she's really following more along the lines of the numerological plus the elemental, which is how I read generally anyways, and what resonates strongly with me. So and especially you can see this in the major arcana when let's say you take the archetype of the father or of the mother. Not everybody has a good experience with that archetype, and she discusses that. What does it mean to have had a terrible childhood? In the childhood or the youth and the maiden in the child, what does it mean if your past is not a good one, that you have some terrible experiences in these times, and what does that mean when these cards come up and we have to still deal with this? So she really goes into that understanding that these archetypes, our experiences with these archetypes, are not always positive ones, but our goal is to kind of tap into what is that true archetypal energy when we're looking in the future, moving forward with it. We want to recover, reclaim, kind of heal that so that we can work with these archetypal energies in a way that is positive when we're moving in the future. And same thing goes for the choice card when it's, because you read that and you think, oh, you're going to, make good choices and you're going to have your heart's desire. Well, yes, that's nice, and that does move us towards that, but she really does talk about how the choices, that everything in life is reflected by choices, our choices, but also other people's choices. So sometimes we have things happen to ourselves we had no choice of the matter. It was somebody else's choice that is impacting us, but it's still to do with choice. So it's still an extremely powerful card. So I really do like how it does not feel sugar-coated to me whatsoever, because she really does delve into the understanding that life isn't all sugar and rainbows, but our ideal is to heal ourselves so that we can work with those archetypes that are in tarot and in our oracle and in literature and just in the world in general, that we can work with those archetypes in their purest sense as we move forward and kind of heal the connotations that our experiences have perhaps layered over the top of them. So I really like that. She goes into, you know, using the tarot, asking questions, devoting time, keeping a journal. I love the section about tarot as a mirror. So she has a, but it's not over. I like it because it's there for somebody who's new to reading, but it's not overly, there's not a ton that's spent on it that maybe isn't necessary. So I quite like that. And then she gets into the deck structure. And this is what becomes very important because the structure is different in the major arcana. Now, in the minor arcana, we have the 4 elemental suits just like normal. We have 14 cards just like normal. We simply have the page and the knight's energy is different, but we'll get to that. But the major change in the deck is the major arcana. And so she spends, I think, does a very good job clearly explaining that. And so you'll see here where I wrote on the cards that it is, the major arcana is considered to be broken into 4 groupings. Now, one of the groupings is simply the first single card of the choice, and it's supposed to be quite a powerful. She talks about how it is the single most important card in the deck. For the very premise of Dreams of Gaia Tarot is that everything comes back to choice. All that we are, all that we become is governed by the choices that we and those around us make, and how they in turn create and influence our reality. So that choice card is very important, and so is a grouping in and of itself. But then we have 3 sections of 8 cards that are other groupings. So the first one, it reflects the stages of life and is very gender balanced as well. So here you have the child, the maiden, and the youth. So we have the male and female younger, the mother and the father, the male and female. So you have that maiden, mother, and crone in both feminine and masculine energies. And then we have the crone and the sage for the male and the female of that older stage. Beautiful. And that is wrapped up in the death and rebirth card. Death card is about, for me, about death and rebirth. She's named it Death and Rebirth. I wouldn't try too hard to try to fit these into the traditional ones, but you can see them there. Like the energies, I haven't gone through one by one yet to see all of them, but the energies are there. You know, you see the sage and the crone. You see the mother and the father as the emperor and the empress. You can see those kinds of energies there. You can see the death card. There is a union card. So there are energies there, but I wouldn't try to make, because it's not intended to fit into it. But so you can't help it though. If you've read tarot enough, you can't help but think about, oh, that kind of seems like this energy, right? But I really like that we have the stages of life, balanced version of the stages of life all the way through. And then it goes into the reasons of being. And she talks about that as 8 reasons of being. Our primary reason for being is to experience life, both the good and the bad, but we're also here to learn and gain knowledge, to grow wise, to experience love in all its forms, to find healing and unity. We are here to find our true self, to create abundance, and to fulfill our personal and chosen destiny. So we have knowledge, wisdom, healing, love, union, self, abundance, and destiny as our reasons for being. And then we have a section of 8 cards on influences. And it talks about here, while it's true that the events we are experiencing now and our reasons for being can and do influence our ability to see opportunities and make choices, there are another 8 key elements that play a defining role in influencing us for better or worse. These are the journey, our life experiences to this moment, thought, emotions, desire, perception, being the way we perceive our reality, intuition, integrity, and faith. And so those, all those cards together comprise this major arcana. I think it's gorgeous. It is, it reflects the macrocosm, I think. It reflects the journey that we come to expect with the major arcana. I think that she did a really good job with that. And then she talks about the minor cards being earth, air, fire, and water, which is traditional. 14 is traditional, ace through 10. And then instead of a page, there is an alignment or balancing card, which I'll show you them all together. And then 3 court cards. The king and the queen remain the same, and then the third one, which would be technically in the knight position, is actually somebody who would be standing next to the king and the queen, and the kind of advisor role. And I really like the way that she has utilized that court position, and we'll look at those all together so that you can see them. So that's the basic structure. We're going to look at it, we're going to break it down and look at it, but I just want to kind of go through that. She gives some spreads: a single card, a 3 card, a 9 card that looks quite interesting, the dreamer spread, and then a large dreaming tree spread, which I have to say would be a little difficult given the size of the cards. You definitely, I couldn't do that, I don't think, on my reading table, but I love the graphics for it, and I'll be interested to give those a try. And then it gets into the cards themselves. Now, there's a lot here. I'm not going to, sometimes I'll read through these. I'm not going to read through a whole one, but I do want to show the breakdown because I think it's really powerful. I quite like how she's done it. It is the same in the major and minor, but there are some differences, and I'll show you that in a second. So in the major arcana, you have a small icon of the card. You have the number, the name, the keywords. I like keywords. Some people don't like keywords, but if I just want to skim it and get kind of, what's the essence they're going for, I like keywords. Then she has key phrases, which is different than keywords. We have things like belief is a choice, inaction is a choice, the choice is yours, determine your direction. These are some phrases that might come about due to this card. I quite like that. I think it's fantastic. Stop procrastinating. Be responsible for your choices. So these are a little bit deeper, cause and effect, which is the same thing, but it's just a different way of rewording it to where I think that could really trigger some, okay, yeah, I'm getting that. I'm seeing what that might be. Then she goes into the meaning, a nice, 3 paragraphs about the meaning of the card. And I really love this. This is just with the major and minor, the major arcana, but she has a really solid description of what this card means in the past, the present, and in the future. And then also what potential blockages, because this is about our personal growth and our journey. How could that be blocked, and what might we do with that? So it talks about procrastination, and this is kind of like the reversal. So the blockage is sort of the reversal of the card. So you get a lot of information. I really love, and within this past, present, and future, especially within the past, you get a really good understanding of how she is looking at potential negative experiences with these, like I said, with the mother or the father, where you may not have a good experience with childhood or mother or father. And what does that mean when you have those negative experiences, but these archetypes are coming up for you? Now, in the minor arcana, we have quite similar, except for it doesn't go into the past, present, and future. We have, again, the icon, the number, the name, the keywords, the phrases. We have extensive meaning, as well as the potential blockage, which would function as a reversal or in shadow, as I tend to read them. So quite a lot of information here, even with the minor arcana. And so, of course, we go all the way through the minor, and then it goes to acknowledgements to Tony Carmine Salerno, Amanda Newton, Lucy Cavendish, Peter Phelan, and so on and so forth. So acknowledgements, and then other decks that are available: Dreams of Magic, Messenger Oracle. These are ones that she has, I think, some artwork with, as well as the Mythic Oracle, and then also available from Blue Publishing, the Fairy Tale, which is not her work. So just kind of more of the advertising pages in the back. So the entire book is, minus those things out, 302 pages. Beautifully done. Look at the beginning of the earth. It's just gorgeously published, I feel. You know, thumbs up for all that. And what I've read, which is the entire introduction plus a number of the cards, kind of the minor and major, I'm quite impressed with. I'm impressed with it so far. Again, haven't read the whole thing from cover to cover. I don't necessarily feel the need to agree with everything in a guidebook, as long as I can, you know, I'm going to work with the cards myself, but I do like to see where they're coming from. And so that, well, we will read some of these as we go, just to kind of get some core ideas. Of just her voice. Well, let's just do that right now for at least just, here's the choices card. So let's just, I'm not going to obviously read the whole thing, but let me just skim a few so that you can, because this is supposed to be the most important card in the deck. So keywords would be choice, options, opportunity, free will, self-determination, procrastination, and consequence could be maybe shadow ones. I guess I should move it this way a little bit. I think that all stays in there. Meaning all that you are, I think that we've read this. All that you are, all that you have learned and experienced is born of choice. The choices you have made, the choices others have made on your behalf, or choices they have made for themselves that have impacted on or influenced your life. You may believe that you have no choice, but that in itself is a choice. You may also exercise your right to allow others to decide for you. This too is a choice. You know, and then it goes on. I really like that. So it talks about you know, the past. How does choice play a role in our past? Does this conditioning enable, empower, or limit and restrict? Are you holding on tight to hurts and bad memories that bind you to past moment? Is this preventing? She uses questions very well within it, and she goes into the past, present, and future. And then blockages. Are you spending all of your time looking for options and opportunities because you don't like the options that have already been presented to you? Sometimes our searching fails to uncover a choice that brings us happiness or an outcome that we desire, so we continue to look, hoping that something better will come along. In this way, we may be only delaying the inevitable. So it talks about sort of the idea of procrastination and delaying choice when we might just need to plow through what is actually available there. So that's just a little bit of a look, and here's what we're going to look closer when I zoom in, but that idea of choice. Now, she doesn't seem to, let me look back here, she doesn't seem to refer to the images. That is something I do like in guidebooks. I do like a reference to, okay, well, we see here this, this, and this because why? You know, we have the tears flowing. We have the three doors, which to me does speak to choices. We have the snake representing that kind of archetype, I think, of the Adam and Eve choice of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You know, that kind of thing. We've got the fire here. We've got the apple here. So I think that I think it's not difficult to see the idea of choice in here. Is choice black and white? Like, is it ever that clear? I don't think so. We've got more of this tangled knotwork up here that talks about the interconnectedness of our choices and the choices of others and how they impact us and how we impact other people. So there's a lot imagery going on in this particular card, lending itself to choice, but she doesn't discuss that in the book itself, which is okay, because I think these are so clear. That's probably not necessary, but I do, you know, that's just something I like to point out. Sometimes decks do a great job of saying, okay, this is why I chose a symbol, and that does interest me in a guidebook. Excuse me, I'm so sorry about my voice. It's definitely going in and out. So we will probably come back to this as we look at any cards that are quite different, just to see what we can see and see what comes up. But well done. Really nice example of a guidebook, and one that I will be reading from cover to cover just to get a full experience with where she's going with this. So now, though, I know everybody's like, let's take a look at the cards, right?